Hello, this is Brooks Whittington with halfwheel.com. Today I'm taking a look at the Leag T135. Now, Leag is a French company that has become well known for its cigar knives over the years. In 2021, the company branched out into wearable cutters with the punch bracelet, which is exactly what it sounds like, basically a punch cutter that has been built into a bracelet that you wear on your wrist. During the 2023 PCA convention and trade show, Leag expanded on this wearable lineup by introducing two new double guillotine cutters. Both had designs that were inspired by the look of military dog tags. The Leag T100 is a smaller version, and it's modeled to be exactly the same size of a dog tag, can cut cigars up to 70 ring gauge, and it also comes with a secondary decorative piece. The Leag T135, this one here, is 35% larger than an actual dog tag, thus the 135 in the name, and it can cut cigars up to about 90 ring gauge. Now, the Leag 135 is available in 5 different color handles: black, this one, blue, champagne, OD green, and red, and all 5 versions are priced at $90 each. Now, in terms of physical specifications, the Leag T135 is a double guillotine style cutter and made of 420C surgical grade stainless steel, and it's designed to be worn around your neck via a 31.5-inch long chain, the same type of chain that's used for dog tags. Since it can be worn around your neck, there are actually 2 options for you to be able to use it. You either cut the cigar while you're wearing the cutter around your neck, or you take it off to actually use the cutter. Now, the cutter weighs 1.74 ounces and is only 0.11 inches thick, not very thick at all, as you see here. The case is 1.75 inches wide and measures 2.75 inches long when the blade is closed and 4 inches exactly when the blade is fully open, like so. Now, the cutter is actually capable of cutting about a 90 ring gauge cigar if you are just cutting the cap off or a little bit of the cap off, but it can cut a 60 ring gauge cigar in half fully if you wanted to actually do that. But enough about all that, let's cut some cigars. Now, as I mentioned before, there are 2 different ways to cut cigars with this cutter. The first way is to cut it while it is still attached around your neck. And the second way is to cut it with it when it is just using it off of your neck, and you take it off and use it as a normal double guillotine cutter. And I'm going to go over the first one in a moment, but this time I am going to use it as I would any other normal double guillotine cutter. So basically, you take it off of your neck, you have it in your pocket or wherever you have it. You're going to open it up by grabbing this handle here, and you pull it this way, which opens it up. You take the cap of the cigar here, and you put it into the opening. You want to make sure, as always, that the small piece of the cap that's coming off, that is falling off, that you're cutting off, is actually facing away from the logo that is on that cutter. You're going to put it into the opening, and then you're going to make sure that got it correctly there. And then you're going to make sure you have the amount of cut that you want to take off there, which is very easy with this cutter. And then you're going to stop, and you're going to do a little bit of an extra step. What I've noticed after testing this cutter for quite a while was that I did have some minor problems every once in a while with the cutter before I started using a specific method to fix those. And that is that once you put the cigar cap into the opening here, what you're going to do is you're going to press just a little bit against the blades and give it just a little bit of pressure. Not so much that it breaks the cap or anything like that. Just a little bit will do it. And once I did this, I realized that pretty much all of my problems with cuts went away, and it became a very, very, very good cutter. So you're going to make sure you have enough. You're going to push just a little bit so that that's pressure against the blades, and then you're going to push the blade through all the way very, very quickly and cleanly, and you have yourself a nice clean cut pretty much every time. Now, one thing I would like to mention that I didn't mention before in detail was the fact that this does have a very, very good lock on it. And some of the locks I've had reviews of cutters where the locks are either non-existent or they don't work very well. This one is very, very well designed. It locks in place, as you can tell with that noise, that click, and it is not coming off. And it's very, very well designed and a great addition to this cutter. Now, the second way of using this cutter is very similar to the first. You have it around your neck, and you pull down on the blade there to open it up. You take the cap of the cigar that you're cutting. You put it into the opening. You make sure there's enough space there, and then you push the cut through. And you have yourself a clean cut. Now, I never really had that many more problems cutting with this method in terms of the actual results of the actual cigars being cut. However, my main issue is how awkward it is, how uncomfortable it is to actually use it with this thing wrapped around my neck. You can see this chain. I'm constantly trying to pull down on this chain to get more space as I'm trying to figure out how much space, how much cut I'm taking off of the cap. My elbow's going up, my elbow's going down. It's just not a very comfortable position. It's not a very comfortable process, and it never got less awkward regardless of how many times I tried to do it. This chain always limits my mobility when I'm trying to figure out how best to cut the cigar. And again, I got pretty good results regardless of that. However, it was just not a very comfortable or enjoyable experience. One other thing that I didn't realize when I was actually starting to use this method with this wrapped around my neck is the fact that those pieces, when you cut off the cap, have to go somewhere. And as you saw on there, they basically went everywhere there. If you're inside around a table or something or around an ashtray, it's not a big deal. But if you're somewhere where you don't have a table or an ashtray, those pieces are going to fly everywhere. All right, now down to the point of the review where I go through some really good things I loved about this cutter and some things that I, think weren't so good or needed to be changed. And starting out the list of really great things is something that a cutter should do pretty much automatically, and that is cut cigars well, and this cigar cutter does cut cigars well. As long as you use the method I mentioned before, putting a little pressure on the cap of the cigar as you're cutting it. Now, another thing I loved about it is the fact that the blade actually it has a lock built in, and it's a very good lock that there's no issue with it coming open or moving or anything like that. It is a very stout lock, and of all the time that I was using it, I never had the impression that it was ever going to come open on its own. I just don't think it's going to happen. So it is very, very well designed in that regard. Another thing is the fact that this cutter is made in France. I know some people really care about that kind of thing, and if you do care about that kind of thing, this is not made in China, it's made in France, and so that should make you fairly happy. Now, finally is the fact that it is a very portable, cutter. Now, it's obviously designed to be portable on your neck if you wanted to do that, but I'm talking about more about the fact that even if you wanted to take this chain off, it's a very simple process. You just open this here, you take this off here, and it comes right off. Once that's off, it becomes a very different product in terms of portability. Instead of having that chain around, that you're always playing with or getting in the way or rattling around, this is a very thin, very light, and very, very portable cutter that is very easy to get lost in your pocket, which is a very good thing, at least to me. It's one of the more portable cutters that I've tested, and very, very cool in that regard as long as you take that chain off. With that chain on, it's a very annoying process to put it in your pocket and take it out. But without it, it's a whole different ballgame. Now, having said all of that, there are some things that I really, really wish were not the case about this cutter, and that list starts with the idea that using this cutter the way that it is intended to be used, as I wear it around my neck trying to cut cigars, it's a very, very awkward situation, and I could just never make it less awkward. Now, another thing about this is the fact that it does get dirty very, very easily. It's a fingerprint magnet, dirt magnet. Even if I wiped it off immediately, almost, it became it became dirty again in some aspect of way. Dust on it from all of the cigars and things of this nature. It's just almost impossible to keep clean. And it's definitely something, using this shiny metal that's going to happen. But it's definitely something that I noticed, and just don't expect for this thing to ever look amazing unless you just literally just wiped it off. And finally, this is really not the most. It's kind of a gross situation to think that you're going to have this on your chest in the outside of your shirt, or worse, on the inside of your shirt, and actually take it out and say, okay, here, I'm gonna give you this cigar cutter to use, or I'm gonna cut my own cigar with it. I'm aware of the fact that my pocket's probably not much cleaner, but it's definitely a situation where I have to think to myself, it's not a great idea to just let this thing wander around, bang around on my shirt all day long outside, where who knows what can get onto it, kind of thing. In my bag, it's certainly a better situation, and so that's definitely something that you need to think about if you're going to be carrying this around the way that it is intended to be carried around on your neck. And so in the end, after all of that, can I recommend the Leag Leag T135? The answer is yes, but I do have a pretty massive caveat. And that's the fact is that even after all the testing, no matter how much I tried, I never found a way to make the process of cutting a cigar comfortable while wearing this cutter around my neck. If I was forced to only cut cigars with this thing wrapped around my neck, I wouldn't recommend it at all. Thankfully, I can do what I want. And what I want to do is take this chain and this connector off and use this cutter as I would any normal double guillotine cutter. That's my opinion. For more news and reviews of premium cigars, go to halfwheel.com.